Thank you to everyone who's here with us today. I love talking about this topic because this topic seems to be relevant to every country in Southeast Asia, and if not, even the rest of the world. So it's timely that we talk about it. You do want to build a vibrant startup innovation ecosystem, but you can't do that if you don't have people to build it with you. So I think it's timely that we have this discussion. So I'm going to start off first by asking you in the first place, do you think Indonesia have a tech brain drain problem?
Yes, definitely.
Can you tell me what you're seeing in the ecosystem that makes you say that?
What I've been seeing is in the past few years, more and more Indonesians wanting to work or live overseas. It was kind of halt or delayed during the COVID times, but once there's the pre-COVID, post-COVID recovery, we have a lot of candidates who are asking, hey, does Michael Page recruit for overseas? And some of the targeted countries include the like of Singapore, Australia, and even as far as the Europe and the US. So I can say, Gulnas, there definitely has been more and more candidates, especially from the tech.
Do you see the same thing?
Yeah. I think we are at the same Michael Page. Oh no, it's the same page. We are on the same page. Yeah, I believe that we are on the talent drain situation by now. But let's also understand the definition itself about the talent drain. This is not only about how our tech talent looking overseas opportunity, but also compete between early stage startup with mature startup. It's also like talent drain there. And from the ticket.com perspective also, we lost some talent moving overseas. This year is like around 6 people moving to country with less of young people, something like that.
So then, if there's an issue of talent drain, so this is about talent moving out of the country, moving into bigger tech companies, so it kind of, these medium and smaller startups or tech companies then suffer because they have a challenge recruiting and keeping people. But then from the other perspective, if you have enough, if the pool is enough, then there's not much of an issue. You hire the next batch of people. So I guess pivoting a bit, do we also have a demand and supply issue here? Demand outstripping supply. I saw one report which say that, there's about 9 million tech talent shortage by 2030. Every year you need about 600,000 tech talent to come into the market just to meet demand. Is this something you're also seeing? I mean, from what you're doing and where you sit?
From my perspective, yes, because sometimes this is not only about the numbers, but also about the quality of talent. Demand and supply is not only about the numbers, because we also looking specific talent, which is we are lack of talent, for example, in Indonesia. When we talk about the data scientist, machine learning engineer, this is also a challenge that we have now. Because in Indonesia, probably we only have like data engineer, data intelligence. It's totally different, right? As per our discussion, it's totally different skill set. Sorry, from that skill, for example. So for me, demand and supply, yes, we have like a lot of good university, but probably another issue is how the needs of the enterprise can fulfill from the university, for example.
Okay, we'll get to that a bit more. I want to dig into that later. Ime, what about you? Do you see this issue? What particular aspects of, or sectors of tech talent is in shortage right now? Where do you see a lot of demand and you can't seem to place good quality talent?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Pak Dudi said. Quality and quantity clearly very different. Indonesia, one of the highest population, but in reality, how many of them are employable? I think it's a very, very different questions, quality and quantity. Then comes to technology itself, it's one of the sector in which the demand is definitely more than the supply. So for example, within the tech, the AI is something that's very new. The deep tech, we don't have any R&D or a lot of talents in Indonesia. So what caused them is whenever there is Indonesian talent, whether it's Indonesia or overseas, they would want to live outside. because there are better tech hubs than Indonesia in a more developed country. One of the main reasons of the brain drain is because the tech talent wants to develop themselves further. And the only way they do that is to be the like-minded. And hence, they prefer to be overseas when there is the same skills that they can learn from each others. Yeah.
Okay, and then just now, we were discussing this a bit because we came really early, had a lot of coffee, and we were discussing this a bit. Then the advent of remote working seemed to facilitate this further. So a lot of times when we think about brain drain, we think about people physically moving to a different country. But now I hear that with remote working as all sorts of arrangement. You want to dig more into that? Give us real life examples of what you're seeing.
Yeah, I think this is not only about like moving to other country. Yeah. Some of overseas company, they allow Indonesia tech talent also working from Indonesia, working from home for them. It's like heaven for them, right? So they can work here with the US salary, with the German salary, but working from Indonesia. And then they can learn also the new technology faster than Indonesia tech company probably can provide. So that's something I can agree with Imade about the new things that our tech talent needs. Yeah.
Something that every year we release this report, talent trends. One of the main reason of retention, why people want to leave the company is because they want flexibility, they want remote working, and that's more obvious when it comes to the tech talents than the rest of the business functions.
Yeah.
And hence the remote working provides them with so much flexibility. I can ask amongst all of you who wants to live in Indonesia but getting paid in euro, I'll raise my hands up, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely what's happening with a couple of countries. The good news is Indonesia is not the only country that experienced brain drain. There's also other developing countries like Australia and Germany, for example. And they are headhunting our talent, Indonesians' talent.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to work together. How do we make sure we can attract them back or we can retain them as much as possible to be here?
Let me add one more thing as well. Yeah, the quality of life as well. If our talent move to other country, the reason they move also to other country is about quality of life, right? They still see that overseas opportunity give them better quality of life. This is something interesting as well. I found it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, we've established that there is a talent shortage issue, there is a talent drain, and it sounds pretty bleak for, a startup based in Indonesia or a mid-sized tech company based in Indonesia. How are you going to compete with the likes of, other companies that can pay in euro, offer work flexibility, or bigger tech companies with all the brand name and the benefits? So I guess, Dudi, starting with you, because this is a real challenge for you that you're facing. What are some of the things that your team have been putting in place to deal with some of these challenges, or is there no way of winning this battle?
No, we can win this battle. Actually, we can win this battle because at least, as long as we understand the reason behind people leaving the company, right? So yes, we face some turnover rate because of the talent drain issues, or they are looking for overseas opportunity. But at the end, we must as a company also to have like strategy to handle this issue, right? Including probably like have better compensation, because most outside the quality of life, compensation benefit as well, something that important, right? So if we can like give them enough comment, probably they can stay as well. Or opportunity to grow, opportunity to learn new things. We provide them channel to learn. We also at Ticket probably we also have tools, because at the end we as a talent we expect to be heard, right? So anonymously probably talent etiquette can like easily complaining, easily give us a feedback through the tools that we have. Being heard is something that also important to protect, probably to prevent the turnover. But a lot of things I think we can do. But again, this is need an effort, especially tech talent is very specific treatment that we need, the flexibility, we need to provide also the flexibility for them.
Okay, so I hear three things there. One is compensation. We all work for money after all when it's not a free
It's
labor.
a real, right?
Huh?
It's a real things.
I know, otherwise work for what? I might as well sit by the beach. So compensation is baseline. Think about being competitive. Then put in place space for growth, because both of you are talking about, how talent is attracted, top talent is attracted by the prospect of growth. So that's another thing. And then third is culture. Culture that empowers flexibility, feedback, and, it's harder to leave when you feel like it's family or it's, you're a bunch of friends that you want to see every day. So those are the three things. Now, maybe pivoting a bit more, because at Michael Page, you place people, right? What are some of the things that you've seen in terms of where people want to be placed, which companies people want to be placed in, as a result of some of the things that they do at the company, be it their culture, the programs that they had? What have you seen helps in terms of attracting tech talent that's in shortage?
Just to give you more background, is like I think we started the technology practice about 6-7 years ago when there was a boom in the market, and at that time there were more lack of talent. And what happens is all the unicorns, all the big players went overseas to tap into Indonesians. So that's one of the way to partner with the embassies, attracting Indonesians to return back to Indonesia. One of the best practice that I've seen being implemented is this is a very controversial phase, but happy wife, happy life. So what happens with a lot of the recruiters who went overseas is, instead of just targeting the husbands, again, we have to admit tech is very much dominated by male, they speak to the wives. So they went all out. They invited the wives for dinner. They went out to invite the wives and the family for lunch and dinner. They get to know the wife. What does the wife do when the husband is working? What's the wife's hobby? And that's all they do. At the end of the day, the decision in Indonesia is usually made by husband and wife. And that's one of the most wonderful way to do that. And in that results, like, they are able to bring a couple of Indonesians back home just because they get to know the family. Because in the recruitment world, the customer experience really matters. We all talk about the UI, UX of tech company, but what's sometimes forgotten is the talent experience. The candidate experience start from the very beginning when they were reached out, not only when they were already on board. So let's start there if you want to look at Indonesians who are overseas, targeting not only themselves, but their ecosystem around, the family, the circle, and all that. And also the other one is the partnering with a lot of universities overseas. That's something that a lot of tech companies have also done. So the trend has been the unicorns targeting Indonesians overseas, but after the COVID era, there are a lot of local conglomerate or domestic players who want to tap or who wants to attack these local talents who are already back home. So maybe Pak Dudi's companies is one of them who gets targeted a lot because he hired a lot of good talent. And with the local conglomerate, I think it's a very different game. So instead of approaching the family, the compensation really matters again. And then they give them the authority of what is very rare in the tech world. They give them the opportunity to manage and to be on the business side. So if you work for the large enterprise, typically as a software developer, your career is on the CTO. It's very, very rare you can be chief of business or a CEO. But in the large conglomerate company, they're much more limitless. So as a tech person, they can develop further, they can learn about the business, they can talk directly with the owners, and they can make decisions faster than working for a larger enterprise. Yeah, so these are the things that I've seen.
Okay, so pivoting away from the large enterprises, what can startups do, or what have you seen being practiced by startups, be it partnerships, be it pipelines from universities, be it internships? What can startups and small, medium businesses in the tech space do to attract and retain tech talent?
I think we need to know our playground lah, yeah, first thing first. Because in early stage when my career with ticket.com, for example, like 6 years ago, I believe we can't compete with the big player at that time. So the approach is we check our data, existing talent that we have, which university they come from, especially for the top talent, right? And then we found that this is not like coming from my precious campus, for example, from ITB, from Indonesia University, but coming from the private sector university, for example. So we spend all the energy focusing on that university, and rather than compete with the compensation with the highest startup, so we know the place that the playing ground. We know our playing ground. Connect with the university, connect with campus. Even by now, we starting to build the data science faculty in one of university here in Indonesia, and 6 of our talent also teach and build the curriculum about data science here. So that's our approach to have the better like pipelining as well, especially for the early stage career, yeah, because the mid stage career also that's another challenge that we have like by now. Yeah.
And anything at your end that you see, Naomi? Do you have partnerships with universities or private sector?
So we usually work more on the Chamber of Commerce, then they have access to more universities because we don't have the capability to go university one by one. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we do work with a lot of international organizations to tap into the lot of Indonesians who are overseas.
Okay, that's good, right? Like you are targeting the international diaspora community, and actually what we see across the region is the value of the diaspora communities coming back, pushing the ecosystem forward, bringing back a different set of skill sets that then influence how the ecosystem grows. So I think that's a valuable part that actually a lot more businesses, be it startups, be it medium-sized businesses, should be thinking about. And if they don't have the capabilities, then partnering with others like yourself, like the chambers of commerce, etc., is very valuable. We do see that. You see some of that happening in Vietnam, you see some of that happening in Philippines, and I think in Indonesia, there's always been this sense of a luxury of population size. So we're in this false belief that, oh, the population is so big, we can, up-level education levels and we'll be fine, right? And not really think about some of these existing opportunities that are out there that could be better tapped into. So I'm glad to hear some of this happening. I'm glad to hear some of the university partnerships happening. You wanted to say something? Add on to it? No?
This is not only like talking about the enterprise and university. Don't forget about the government involvement on this. They are the policy maker, right? They are the policy maker. They are probably the one who create, probably, quote unquote, create this life situation in Indonesia, probably, because of the decision that they made, probably the policy that they made is impact to our, not only to tech talent, but also to entire country, probably. I don't know. This is not the right place for me to talk about the government.
If you had a wish list, right? If you gave them a wish list of policies or partnerships or programs that you want to see the government spearheading, what would that be?
Sit together, not only bring influencer.
Okay.
That's my suggestion.
Sit together to do what?
Sit together between university, government, and enterprise. It's a real discussion, not all the issues bring by or highlight by influencer. No, that's my. And let's sit together.
I see some people in the crowd laughing. There seems to be more to this than what's being said here.
This is more interesting discussion, but I don't think this is the right place.
Okay. In terms of policy changes, right, one of the things that often gets in the way, Indonesia benefits from a huge population size and a young population that's quite tech savvy. But there are challenges in terms of basic education level. How can we remedy some of this? Do the private sector have a role to play in helping, push some of these things forward? You see some of this in countries like Singapore and Vietnam, where very strong private sector involvement has helped bring in additional skill sets for a population that has good STEM education. What would you like to see in Indonesia?
I'll take it first. So I think what matters is if only the private sectors can support like scholarships for a lot of Indonesians that who wants to equip themselves with better talent. And I'm not talking about scholarship which they have to spend 2 years. It can be in the form of certification, because I know some tech certification is very expensive. So for example, cybersecurity is one of the demanded job in Indonesia, but certification itself costs a lot. And a lot of the tech talents are not able to afford that. Whereas the companies, hey, you have to have this certification and then we hire you. So they want a lot of things, but they're not giving a lot. And hence there's definitely a mismatch of expectation and then and what's available in the market. So it'd be good if the local private sectors can support more when it comes to equipping better education for the tech talent.
Agree. From the company side or from the enterprise side, what we can do probably the small thing that the ticket can support. For example, we provide the paid internship. Yeah, so this is also important, right? Because since the connection, the curriculum connection between campus and enterprise sometimes is not connect directly, that's why we need like a year or like semester intern probably can help. We can support tech talent in Indonesia through that program, for example. But also this is not easy actually, because we found some of the issues when we implement the internship. If the background or the major probably not relate with the campus, for example. Engineer working in HR, for example. Yeah, I talked with the dean that this is not acceptable. Even actually I'm graduate from math, but 26 years in HR. And this is interesting, right? If the talent interesting to one area and then the background, the study background is not related, they will not convert to the SKS. What is to the grade? Yeah, probably. This is also an issue that we have. So communication between three parties, I think this is very important for us. Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? I know in some countries, even in the region or around the world, there's just general work placement. You do 6 months work placement, that counts towards your degree, regardless of whether or not it is aligned with the major. But you're saying that in Indonesia, in some instances, that doesn't happen, and there needs to be better alignment where you allow for on-the-work experience placements while you're pursuing a particular degree. So that's an interesting one. I like how we're moving towards very real, practicable suggestions. I hope there are people taking notes and we can put this into place, right? I guess, okay, so we've been talking a lot about, how to upskill talent that can come into the workforce. What about the existing workforce? I mean, in the space of technology, things move really quickly. So the skill you had as you enter the workforce will very quickly become outdated, right? So what have you seen in the ecosystem in terms of helping upskill existing talent force that helps small, medium, startups, businesses, bring about a better talent pool?
One of the things that I've seen is definitely learning from overseas talent. As was mentioned earlier, Indonesia, we are not there yet in terms of tech capabilities. So what we can do better is definitely linking up with the tech hubs like the one in the Silicon Valley, in which they all can learn about the new technology, especially the tech talent they love to learn. But at the same time, there's limitation of who they can learn from Indonesia. And I've seen that works significantly because they feel that they are appreciated. They feel that the companies is very supportive towards their learning and development, and hence they want to stay longer, and eventually they'll return back their learning to the team that they are going to be developed. So it goes round like a circle, Gulnas.
That's nice.
I agree with what Ime mentioned. Yeah. So company you need to provide the learning space for everyone, but this is not like give the same training to everyone. I believe you guys also need specific learning area or specific skill that you need. So we need to provide that easily in our ecosystem. And at Ticket probably we provide, people can choose which channel that they want to have, like a learning channel, for example, what kind of LMS. We are not asking everyone join with only one LMS, no. they can like just easily to apply, but they need to commit, right? And then we also encourage, we initiate to have like internal networking learning. We build the team that can share each other, learning each other together. And then the program, we provide all the programs so people can easily to register the learning, for example. And also we bring the knowledge from outside as well. I agree. We bring the knowledge, we do some conference, we do some mentoring, we do some also coaching program for them. And don't forget, this is not only like specific skill set as for tech, but for the like middle manager tech, they need also leadership training, right? They also need to how to lead team better. We also need to provide that one. Yeah.
Okay, so investments into on-the-job training, upskilling, goes back to the point that we were making at the start, right? The what keeps people in their roles. It's not just about compensation, that's a baseline that's important, but it's also about growth. And so you see a connection. If you're able to provide growth opportunities by upskilling them, by giving them exposure to a different ecosystem, they feel valued, they feel empowered, and that all forms a circular sort of experience that keeps them where they are, that helps grow the pool itself. I guess we started off pretty bleak. You know, it's all like, yes, everyone's leaving and you know, they're taking up all our talent. But we came to a point where we have quite a number of very practical solutions that could be explored. There's an undisclosed wish list of sitting down and speaking with the government on like, here's a set of things that you should explore doing. Let's sit down and talk about how we can action that. So I guess to end off, are you optimistic about the future? The future of, you know, tech talent staying in Indonesia when standards of living could be slightly better somewhere else? Are you optimistic about the tech ecosystem in Indonesia having a good sizable talent pool to support their growth and development?
Optimistic. It's a must.
Then say it louder that you're optimistic.
Optimistic. Yeah, still optimistic because I think even we see probably some issues, but again, this is the journey, right? This is the journey, and I saw the light in the end of the tunnel. I'm still optimistic that together, I think we can build better tech talent in Indonesia. Yeah.
What about you, May?
I have to be, otherwise I'll be out of job, right? Yeah, I think the optimistic view is definitely that has to be there. But just to remember, people at the end is very unique. You can't say one person is after compensation and then it says everyone is only after compensation. I think to add to what I can suggest, which is very practicable, is don't forget to review the compensation benefit every year. Because at the end of the day, money still matters to a lot of people and it's paying the bills. I think the market shifted. 5 years ago, people were into stock options and ESOP. But right now, more and more people are asking, why don't we look at the cash component? So do review it with the competitors. And don't forget, competitors doesn't mean it is another company with the same sector. Because there is definitely a talent war that's going on in Indonesia. And we see more crossover industry. So for example, a tech talent from a tech company can be moving towards an FMCG company. And it's the other way around. We just need to be more open-minded because that is the one that can push us forward. Don't look at the talent only from the tech companies because there are rare talents in Indonesia who come from conventional companies too. It's just a matter of how we can tap into them and how we can develop them.
Okay, I guess in the last 1 minute, in very short answer to this, do you think Indonesia would ever be in a position where you attract international talent? Because actually, you look at this conference, you see a very diverse pool of people. I see a lot of people from outside of Indonesia coming and setting up startups in Indonesia. Looking into the future, do you think that you could have a reverse brain drain, that you're draining from other ecosystems?
Actually, for Ticket, we did already.
Oh,
We
he's
did
already done it?
We have like, our talent is around like 12 countries now. Coming from Amazon, coming from Meta, yeah, coming from Google. It's not only diaspora, but also India talent, for example, Singaporean talent, Pakistani talent. We bring them to the organization. Yeah.
Yiming?
Definitely, if we are going to be more flexible, so for example, the remote working, it can opens up to so many talents who might be overseas but doesn't mind getting paid in rupiah, but working in Indonesia because sometimes they feel the urge to improve the tech ecosystem in Indonesia.
Okay. Okay, and with that, thank you very much. This has been an interesting discussion. We started off pretty bleak, but there's a lot of hope. And you see that Indonesia has started to attract a more diverse pool of tech talent from outside of Indonesia. So that is usually a signal that the future is going to be bright and positive. I hope you've taken away some interesting facts from this discussion. If you have further questions, you want to discuss those with them, they'll be around, so please look for them. And thank you very much.